Today, we're going to spend the whole day together. And here's the person with whom started this professional way of facilitation as a technology. There's this widespread opinion in Russia about facilitators. Victoria was supposed to go through the course in a very respectable company. Ain't gonna tell the name on stage, but they were respectable specialists, very experienced in different subjects. Anyway, when they heard about facilitators, they said, oh, those guys who do stickers in the streets, flyers in the streets, those are facilitators. So careless, such a careless attitude. But that's not true, of course, because we're waiting on this stage the person who sees facilitation as a technology that is working and giving 100% result. And we care about it.
Доброе утро. Боже, как он орёт. Доброе утро.
Good morning. This mic is really loud. I have been waiting the chance to get to this training for 5 years. For 5 years, I've been going to fly to Atlanta and go to Michael's training. But yesterday, Eligis Valinurov, I don't see him in the audience, she wrote a very good quote about Michael. She said he's a unique person who gives fundamental knowledge, but he's like a showman on stage. He delivers it as a showman. And on the one hand, you enjoy this presentation, you have a great experience, and at the same time, you get the knowledge. And I believe this is quite unique. I've been learning facilitation from many different people. I've read hundreds and hundreds of books about it. I have attended lots of webinars. But I strongly believe that there's nobody better than Michael to teach and transmit this knowledge about facilitation. And it's not that the things that Michael says are great and awesome, but the way he works with the audience is really impressive. Yesterday at the Business Forum, I have realized that I'm a total slack. I don't know how to present in public. I was totally swiped away by him, because the way he yesterday talked to the audience, and it was the end of the second day, people were exhausted. But he was phenomenal. Michael, thank you. You're amazing. You're super awesome. And I strongly anticipate the date is going to be very interesting, because strategic sessions is something that everybody needs. And being able to efficiently go through strategic sessions is something that every manager should know, especially a top manager. And if we talk about the family, this is something that's applicable when you plan your family. Speaking about facilitation, there's the spiral dynamics, and there are two poles there. Me and we, collective culture and individual culture. We have here in the audience the person who's been working in this area a lot, and he actually wrote the article that started my way in spiral development. And there's this collective focus there. And even in Russia, the facilitators, they come together and speaking like, the session was great, but then they don't do anything. And there's this focus of collective comfort. People have reached the agreement, but they don't do anything. And we have changed the focus of facilitation. Not only agree on something, but also get out of the comfort zone and actually do something and reach the objective that has been set. So what? We're going to have an exciting journey this morning. Let us start. Michael Wilkinson, please welcome. Ну что ж, всем добрый.
Oh, let me try again. Добрый день. Я очень рад вас видеть. Меня зовут Michael Wilkinson. That's all the Russian I know. Oh, yes. Well, let's get started because today we're going to have a little fun because we're going to be covering what we call the 10 fundamental principles of facilitation. When you walk out today, I really want just a few things to happen, a few things for you to have in mind. One, as a result of this session, I want you to have the big picture, the full principles of what facilitation is all about. As you probably know, we teach a 4-day course in facilitation skills. 4 days. We've got 3.5 hours to cover 4 days. So I want to give you the comprehensive picture, but more importantly, I want to focus on some key techniques that you can use tomorrow, to make this happen. So I want to focus on a few key things. We call them the jewels, the most important pieces, that if we had just 3.5 hours together, what I'd want you to walk away with saying, wow, that was fantastic. Because we as facilitators, we play an important role. We have to figure out how to engage people, how to actually get them thinking differently, being willing to do things differently. And to do that, we have to be different. And I'm curious, who are trainers in the room? People who train, would you raise your hand? Gotcha. I shared something with the group. Oh, and who was here last night with me? Oh, just a few. So you're going to hear just a repeat of what I shared with that group around you about training, because it's important. We often think of ourselves as trainers, that our job is to deliver information and to do it in interesting ways that keep people engaged. If you agree with that, would you raise your hand? Yeah, that's what we're supposed to do. And I'm going, yeah, we're supposed to do that, but that's not the most important thing. It's far from the most important thing. We as trainers have an incredibly important role that if we understand that role, it will transform the way we train. We have an incredibly important role because, I hate to say it, but we are salespeople. We are selling concepts. We need everyone walking out of this room sold that this is the most important thing for them to do. Why? Because it's hard, isn't it? Transforming behavior is hard. And if you haven't sold them on the why it's so important, when they walk out the room, they're not going to do it. They'll just go, oh, that was interesting. Oh, that was fun. That's not what we want. We want them to do something differently. And so to do that, we have to sell the why. Why it's so important. We have to make it clear, this is really important because. And so as facilitators, we have to have techniques for doing that. Today we're going to talk about that. We're going to talk about how do you play the role of transforming. Because as facilitators, we want to make it easy for people to do it. Facilitation comes from the Latin word facil, F-A-C-I-L, and all that means is to make easy. That's what we do. So we want to have fun making it easy. So we're going to achieve our objective. I'm going to outline our approach. I'm going to cover a dozen techniques, over a dozen techniques that you can use right away. And finally, for those who want to know more, I want to give you some next steps. So if you're ready to go, will you say, let's go? One more time, if you're ready to go, would you say, let's go? There we go, that's where we want to be. And so to work together, I've divided you into teams. This is team one. Team one, are you with me? Oh, wow, can you believe that? Team one, are you with me? Now that's what I'm talking about, thank you. Team two, are you in the house? Team three, here. Team four? And I promise, Team 5, I will not miss you. Team 5, are you here? Oh, let me hear you one more time. Team 5. There we go. So I'm going to be asking questions of the teams because we want to keep this interactive. So let's start in. Here's our agenda. We're in the getting started phase now. Next, we're going to cover just the best practices, the whole facilitation principles. I am missing a screen, by the way, here. I don't know if this is supposed to be on, but it would be great if it were. I'll keep going. Yes, 3, facilitation tools and techniques, the real stuff we want to get going. Next steps, what are we going to do next for those who want to know? So then we'll have the question and answer. That will be after our break. So we'll have a 30-minute break around 12, and so we'll go from there. So that's the plan. That's how we'll do it. So I've got a question for you. How many here in this group, this is our first poll, would you stand, please, if you have done no facilitation in the last 12 months? Would you stand? Yep. Oh, but you've got to stand because I don't want you sitting the whole time. There we go. Got to stand. Gotcha. Let's give them a hand. Thank you. So you are my fresh blood. You can sit. Thank you. Fresh meat. We'll have some fun with you. How about the ones who have facilitated 1 to 4 sessions in the last 12 months? Would you stand? Yes? Yes? Okay, I see you. Give them a hand. Thank you. And then those who've done 5 to 9 facilitated sessions and training sessions, would you stand? 5 to 9. Okay, it's a fewer number. Gotcha. Okay, thank you. Let's give them a hand. All right, we're getting there now. How about 10 to 19? Oh, we got some real veterans here. Okay, hang on, please stand. I just want to make sure I see you. Got it. I know who I want to call on. Thank you. Give them a hand. Thank you. And then my last group. More than 20. Thank you. More than 20. Whoa. Give them a hand. Thank you. Okay, we're going to be asking you questions as we go. My more than 20. So it's helpful for me to know who's in the room. So it really looks like a pretty good distribution. We've got people who are really new, those who have some experience, those who are really experienced. And so what I want to do is I want to make sure each one of you want to walk away with things. For those who are the newest in the room, I just want to warn you, this is going to be fast. And so please use your handout. Can you hand me your handout there, the first piece of paper you've got there? Yes. Thank you. Please use your handout as we're going through the session. You may find this helpful, and I want to invite you, take pictures. If you love the slides, take a picture. Please, if you want to use Twitter or LinkedIn or Facebook or whatever tool, like it. If you want me to smile and take a picture, I'll be glad to, because we're going to have some fun with this as we go. So let's keep rocking. Here we go. So who we are, just so you know who's on the stage. One, our theme is sharing the power of facilitation with the world. We want the world to know the power that we as facilitators know. I mean, facilitation is amazing. You can get so much more done with a group of people if you're facilitating them through the process. And so we want to teach that and let the world know. And great, we have partners in China, partners in the Middle East, partners around the world. We don't have a partner yet in Russia, but I know that's coming because you can distribute this better than we can. Well, so we are the #1 provider of professional facilitators and facilitation training in the U.S., over 500 facilitators under contract. We actually have teach 13 facilitation courses. Oh my God, 13 courses on facilitation. And that's real fun. And we also have over 20,000 that we trained in our key course, The Effective Facilitator, with the 10 principles and so on. And they've got a few books that I've published. It's kind of fun, yes. A few books. Give me a hand. It's good, yes. All good. And so we say facilitation are us. That is what we do. Okay, end of commercial. Let's get to the real stuff. So I mentioned the 10 principles. So let's go through those 10 principles quickly, shall we? Let me just summarize those 10. #1, preparing for success. Cover all the bases. We know that there are 14 fundamental bases to cover when you prepare for a facilitated session. 14. We're going to cover what we call the 6 P's today. 2, now it's time to get the session started. Now I want to share something with you that some of you know, but I know a lot of you don't. When executives walk in the room, team 1, who has the power? You or the executives? The answer is the executives. They have the power. You have at most 15 minutes to get them to turn their power over to you. Now, team 1, when that turnover of power doesn't happen, it's a bad thing. The nice ones will just ignore you, won't they? They'll play with their phones, have their side conversations with other executives. They'll just ignore you. Those are the nice ones. The not so nice ones, they will fight you, won't they? You don't know what you're doing. This agenda doesn't make any sense. Why are you doing it this way? Who's been there? Who's had that happen? Yes. Oh, it's rough, isn't it? You know why that happens, Team 1? Because they haven't turned their power over to you. Now, we as a company run hundreds of meetings every year. Today, we're going to show you the best we know. That if you do these 4 things in the first 15 minutes of any facilitated session, it will transform, and they will turn their power over to you nearly all the time. We'll talk about those 4 things: inform, excite, and power involved. We'll talk about that in a few minutes. Let's go on. Principle 3. All right, you're prepared. You've gotten the session started. Now you want to get them moving. How do you do it? Well, you know, you've got to focus the group. Establish the course. Avoid detours, Team 2, so that when they start doing this, you want to gently pull them back. Team 2, none of that body slamming stuff. Come back here. No. You want to gently pull them back. And that's principle 2. 3. Let's go in principle 4. Respecting the power of the pin, Team 3. Wow. You know, the pin has power, doesn't it? But you can drive a group dysfunctional by abusing the pin. Let me show you what I mean. Great. What do you think? Oh, excellent. What do you think? Excellent. What do you? What about you? Yeah, great. Yeah, great. Oh, dear. After a while, what's he going to do? He's not going to participate. Why? Because I wouldn't write what he said. And we call that abusing the pen. And then it comes in more subtle forms like this. You might say, well, Michael, I think we should put together a process improvement team. You know what I write? Hire process reengineering consultant. That's not what he said, but that's what I heard. Every time we put together a team, we hired a consultant. I just made it shorter. You know what I'm saying to my friend here? Oh, nice friend, you don't know how to speak. Poor boy, my words are better than yours. We call that disempowering. We're saying our words are better than his. Not a good thing. After a while, he's going to say things like, well, I don't know how to say this. Why? Because we taught him he didn't know how to speak. Or you'll have other people saying, oh, what he means is, now we have other people disempowering him because we taught them how to do it. We're really abusing the pen. We say, write their words, not ours. If their words aren't complete, we get them to correct it, not us. Because they're the power, not us. And you really know you've done it when you're looking at a flip chart where things have been written down, and somebody asks, who said that? Nobody speaks up. Why? Nobody said it. It was our words. Are you with me? Yes? Yes. Well, let's go on. That's principle 4. Let's go on to principle 5, team 4. Principle 5. Oh, this is great. Information gathering. Let me ask you, who's asked a question to a group and gotten complete silence? Who's ever done that? Yes? Yeah. It's uncomfortable, isn't it? You know, you're just sort of wanting them to say something and it's just nothing. What you're going to learn today is that more than likely, team 4, there's a reason why that happened. More than likely, you asked what we call a type A question instead of a type B question. Because when you ask type B questions, I can almost guarantee you will get this. All these people wanting to answer your question. Why? Because you asked a type B question instead of a type A. If I had the opportunity to teach every facilitator in the world one technique, only one, I would teach them the one we're going to talk about today, the secret of the starting question. Because if we ask better questions, we get better answers. So we're going to talk about this one today. Let's go to principle 6, team 5. Managing dysfunction. You're going to hear a story that those who were with us yesterday heard just a little bit about. I was facilitating a session. In the room was the CEO of the company. In the room, the CEO, the top person. Also in the room was the chief operating officer, the number 2 person. And then the 8 executive vice presidents, the 10 top executives in this oil and gas company in a session I was facilitating. Now, I'm about to date myself. This was way back in 1989. I didn't know the stuff we're going to be talking about today. Here's what happened. The chief operating officer made a comment early in the meeting. The CEO, would you do this for me? Shifted in his seat. Could you shift in your, I don't have his attention. Would you tap him for me? Yes, tap him for me. Yes. He's not gonna. Would you be my CEO? Would you shift in your seat for me? Yes, please. Oh, so he's uncomfortable. I noticed it. You know what technique I used? I saw the early signs of dysfunction, and I recognized, wow, I suspect he doesn't like what he just said. But I used the technique most facilitators use, Team 5, when faced with early signs of dysfunction. We call it the ostrich technique. I put my head in the sand. I hoped it would go away. The session continued. The COO made another comment. This time, the CEO pulled back from the table. Would you push away from the table? Yes. Crossed his arms and shook his head. Wow. Good news, I noticed it. And I correctly interpreted it. He really didn't like what he just said. Team 1, guess what technique I used? Ostrich. Yes, it was a brilliant execution. I did great. There was a break. The session continued. We came back from the break. When the COO made the next comment, the CEO said these exact words. And he said it with this kind of passion. That's the stupidest thing I've ever heard. It's limited thinking like that that's caused this company to be in the shape it's in. Wow. My session. The room went completely silent. Everyone looked at me. What was I going to do? Team 2, I didn't have a clue. I had no idea what to do. I hadn't learned the stuff we're going to talk about today. You know what I said, Team 2? Any other input? I had no idea. And for the rest of the day, you know what happened. The COO didn't say another word. And every time the CEO spoke, the 8 executive vice presidents went, yes, sir, yes, sir, yes. It was awful. Well, you're going to learn today that there were things I could have done before the meeting started that would have avoided that outburst from happening, before the meeting even started. And then once the meeting started, once I saw the early signs, there were things I could have done that would have prevented that outburst. So I missed I missed conscious prevention. I missed early detection, didn't do anything with it. And then when he blew up, I still didn't know what to do. Completely missed it. Today you'll know. Let's go on. Principle 7. This is all about consensus building. And we say when you build consensus, Team 5, you really need to understand the 3 reasons people disagree. So we're going to talk about those reasons and how to address each. Then we go to Principle 8, Team 1. This is all about energy. How do you keep the energy high? If you're going to have a group of people for 3 days, 4 days, 2 days, 1 day, how do you keep the energy high? Principle 9 is all about closing. How do you wrap it up, Team 2, nice and tight? And Team 3 will go over Principle 10. How do you build agendas to make 1 through 9 happen? Now, we call this a facilitator's methodology. And I don't care if you do strategic planning. Who does strategic planning here? Strategic planning sessions. Yes. Who does team building sessions? Yep. Who does focus groups? Yep. Process improvement, trying to improve processes. It doesn't matter what you facilitate. We say if you understand these 10 principles, they will make you by far a much better facilitator because these are fundamental principles, regardless of what the process is. So 1, preparing for success. 2, you get the session started. Principles 1 and 2, you only do once for that particular session. Then you enter what we call the facilitation cycle, where once for every agenda item, you do 3 things. 1, you focus the group. 2, you use the power of the pen, and you do information gathering. And then you move on to the next agenda item. Focus the group, power the pin, information gathering. Next agenda item, focus the group, power the pin, information gathering. Until you get to the last agenda item and you close the session. Well, while you're in the facilitation cycle, you may have to bring in the group dynamics principles. Principle 6, oh, there's some dysfunction. Principle 7, we have a disagreement, let me bring in principle 7. Principle 8, the energy's going low, let me bring in principle number 8. So 6, 7, and 8 come into the facilitation cycle as needed. Then principle 9 is closing the session, and then team 4, principle 10. How do you build agendas to put it all together? So you may wonder, why do we end with agenda setting? Because we want to say, we're going to end where you begin. Now that you understand principles 1 through 9, how do you put them all together to build a comprehensive agenda? We call this the facilitator's methodology. So we're going to go through key techniques in each one of the 10. That's our game plan. We're going to take them one at a time. We should be through principle 4 by the time we take the break. Let's see if I can stay on time. And so we'll rock. If we're ready to start in principle 1, would you say, let's go? Let's go to principle 1. Let's get into it. This is all about preparing for success. I want to take us through a poll first. This is a standing poll. So if you believe this is true, would you stand up? Outside of logistics, the 3 most important things to know in preparing for a meeting are the 3 Ps: the participants, the products, and the process or agenda. If you believe that is true, would you stand? We've got 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Oh, please keep standing. We're going to give points here. Yes. Okay. So, if you are sitting down, would you give yourself a point on your page? Because this is false. Thank you. You can sit. So, if you're sitting, put a little mark on your page that you get the first point. Because it's false. Why? Because it's missing the most important thing. What's the most important thing? Purpose. The most important thing in preparing for a meeting is to know the purpose. So let's get to the 6 Ps. I see pictures being taken in 3, 2, 1. All right, changing slides. Here we go. Yes, so purpose. Let's go on that. So we say preparing for success, we want to cover all the bases. And you can see there are 11 things we want to talk about, but I'm going to focus on just the one. We have a question. Yes? Oh, nice. Nice. Very good. Can we give them a hand for the question? Yes, yes, yes. So what's the difference between purpose and product? Let's get right to it. We'll go right now to it. What is the difference? Check it out. We say purpose covers the why. Why are we having this session? Purpose is all about why. Let's give an example. Your name is? Fivel. Bo! Yes, good. That works. Simple mind, simple name, that works. Bo, thank you. So, Bo comes to me and says, Michael, I'd like to have a team building session. You with me? My question is, well, Bo, tell me this. Why do you want to have the team building session? Bo might say, well, my team's not working together well. We seem to have some friction going on. It seems not to be working. I really want to improve that. Are you with me? Yes? Purpose answers the why question. Gotcha? Now, product answers a different question. The product answers the what question. What do we want to have when the session is over? And so I say, well, Bo, if we have this team building session and it's successful, what do you want to walk away with? Bo says, well, I don't know. He says, well, let me break it down. I want to break it down into what we call the 3 H's. First question, what do you want them to have in their hands, Bo, when the session is over? Bo says, well, it'd be great to have a list of team norms of here's how we're going to operate as a team that we all agree on. I'd love for us to have a team vision. Here's the vision of what the team looks like operating together. I said, great. That's what they want to have in their hands, the norms and the vision. Well, let me ask you this, Bo. What do you want them to have in their heads when the session is over? Bo says, I don't understand what you mean. Well, what do you want them to know that they didn't know before the session started? It's a good question, Michael. I'd like them to know the qualities of a great team. I'd like them to know what we have to do to become a great team. Great. So we talked about the hands, we talked about the head. Bo, let me ask you one other question. What do you want them to have in their heart when the session is over? Bo says, whoa, Michael, you're getting soft on me here. No. What do you want them to believe that they didn't believe before the session started? Wow, Michael, that's a good question. I guess I want them to believe we can be a great team, that if we do these things, it's going to make it even better. I want them to really believe that. Got it. Are you with me, Bo? So purpose answers why, product answers what. Two very different questions. Why are we doing this? What do we want when we're done? Let's go on. So it's purpose, product. So let me go there. Team one, what's the first P stands for? The word is purpose. Can I hear purpose? Team one, first P is? Purpose. There we go. The second P, team two, we say is product. Second P is what, team two? Product. And then we say product, team three, contains the three H's. What are they? What we want in there? Hands, head, heart. Let's go. We'll go on, team four. After purpose and product, the third P is the participants, team four. Who needs to be in the room to create the products that will achieve our purpose? I'll say it again. Who needs to be in the room to create the products that will achieve our purpose? You can see why it's important to know purpose and product first in order to figure out the participants. Who needs to be in the room to create these products so we achieve our purpose? So we say the third thing is the participants. Going on, team five, we say then we want to get to probable issues. What are the issues that will likely need to be addressed so that these participants will be able to create these products that achieve this purpose? What are the issues that probably need to be discussed so that our participants can create these products to achieve our purpose? And then finally we get to the whole process. What are the steps that we need to go through to address these issues so that our participants can create these products so that we achieve our purpose? Notice where process falls. It's number 5. When most people say, I like to have a meeting, what's the first thing they say? What is the agenda? Agenda is process. They ask the agenda question, and we say that comes last. It's number 5. You've got to do the other 4 things first. And those 4 things are, get me started, team 1. We first have to ask, what is the purpose? Way to go, team 1. Second thing we have to ask is, what is the product? And we say product has 3 H's, which are hands, heads, heart. Then we say we have to understand the team 4 participants. And then we've got the participants. Then we go to the probable issues. So we've got it going on, and then process, and then finally last on the list is place. This is all the logistics around the place, meaning the food, the room, all the timing, all the things having to do with the place. We call these the 6 P's of preparation. And taking a picture in 3, 2, and 1. All right, let's roll on. Yes, how do we manage if they don't start with the same letters? I'm sure in Russian we'll come up with an acronym. Yes. And so for us it does. Yes, keep me coming. Thank you. Yes. Oh, what do we do if the client doesn't have an answer to the question around product? What should we do? That's called facilitation. Yes? Because just as I asked Bo, what's the product that you want to come out of the session? Bo's going to say, well, I don't know, Michael. I'm going to say, well, let me help you. What do you want them to have in their hands? He says, Well, I guess I want them. So that's called facilitation. We have to make it easy for them to answer the questions. So we have to improve our questions so it makes it easy. So suppose I said, well, Bo, what do you want them to have in their hands? And he says, well, Michael, I don't know. So let me ask you this. When you said that the reason you want them to come together is to work better as a team, is there something they could have in their hands that would indicate they understand how to work together as a team? You see where I'm going? You have to facilitate their answers by asking better and better questions based on what they say. The key to facilitation is, right, they have the answers. Our job, we have to bring the questions. Got it? If we were consultants, we have the answers. We're going to tell you how to fix your company. We're not consultants. We're facilitators. We believe their people have the answers. So if they have the answers, guess what our job is? We have to bring the questions. We have to be better than anyone else in the room at asking great questions to pull out their answers. Great question. Give them a hand for the question. Thank you. Nice question. Yes. Oh, love it. Excellent. So the question is, what's the difference between facilitation and coaching? Excellent. We think of coaching as facilitation for one. We think of coaching as facilitation for one. When you get a group of people together, it takes a set of skills that are a bit different, aren't they? Yes, because there's this thing called group dynamics that really doesn't necessarily happen in a coaching situation. Well, actually, you could have a person with multiple personalities who has group dynamic issues. But normally, when you're in a coaching situation, you don't have to address group dynamics. And so, yes, very good. Nice question. Yeah, well, actually, just to be clear, because it's group dynamics, it's almost like, think about training. What's the difference between training and facilitating a meeting? The skills are similar, the concentrations are different. Do you have to be a great speaker when you're training? Absolutely. Do you have to be a great speaker when you're facilitating? Absolutely. But as a trainer, you may be speaking 70% of the time. As a facilitator, you may be speaking only 30% of the time. So the skills are similar, concentrations are different. As a coach, you need to have a process. As a facilitator, you need to have a process. But I can guarantee you, the coaching process is important. The facilitation process, really, really, really important. And so it's just different concentrations. Nice question. Give them a hand for the question. Thank you, thank you. And love questions. Feel free to at any point, because this is your session. Let's make sure we get what you want. So let's rock on then. So we've talked about the 6 Ps. Let's roll forward then. We're ready to get into the second. Let's talk about that beginning of the session. So remember, there are 14 techniques in the getting started. We covered just one. Let's talk about principle number 2, getting the session started. And here's my poll. And if you think this is true, would you stand, please? After introductions, if necessary, it's generally a bad idea to start a facilitated session with the review of the agenda. It's generally a bad idea. If you think that's true, would you stand, please? I've got one person standing, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Any others? If you're standing, would you put a point on your page, please? You got it correct. Give them a hand, yes. So that is correct. That is true. It's generally a bad idea to start with the agenda. Why? Because you should always start with, everybody, the P word, which is purpose. When you start a session, executives want to know 2 things in particular. Why am I here? When can I leave? That's what they want to know. Why am I here? When can I leave? So we have to start with 2 things, purpose and product. First words, purpose and product. The purpose of this meeting is, when we're done, we're going to have You have just answered in the first sentence exactly what executives want to know. Why am I here? When can I leave? We've answered the question, purpose and product. Let's keep rocking. So let's get into principle 2, getting the session started. You'll see there are 13 techniques we're talking about, but we're going to focus on just the one around setting the stage with your opening. It's the only thing we can cover in our time. So let's get to that because that's really important. Changing slide in 3, 2, 1. Here we go. Let's move ahead. Okay, so when you set the stage with the opening, you have to do 4 things, and you have to knock it out of the park. You have to do this really well. For those who play baseball, boy, you're going to want to swing really hard for these 4 things. Inform, excite, empower, involve. So let's talk about those 4 right now. What do you do when you do those 4 things in the first 15 minutes? Number 1, when you inform, changing slide in 3, 2, and 1. Inform. Through your open, you have to inform participants about the purpose and product. That's the inform piece, where you say the purpose of this session is, when we're done, we're going to walk away with. In that single sentence, you have both those things covered and covered well. The purpose of this session is, when we're done, we will have. Let's go on to second. That's the inform. Now we're ready to excite in 3, 2, and 1. Here we go. We're going to excite. How do we excite participants? We focus on the benefits to them. We're answering the question, what's the overall result to be achieved? So we use initials a lot. I know they don't translate well, but we know everyone in the world is tuned in to a radio station called WIIFM. Everyone in the world is tuned into that radio station. And if you broadcast at that radio frequency, they will hear you. In America, those initials stand for what's in it for me. Everybody's listening to that radio station. So if you speak at that level, they will hear you. So you need to speak to what's in it for them. Why is it important for them to be at this meeting? Why should they care about this purpose and product? That's your opening. Then we're going to empower them. We're going to explain the role they play. What are they being asked to do? Are they being asked to make a decision? Are they being asked to make a recommendation? Are they being asked to advise? Are they being asked to generate ideas? What power has been given to them? Why were they selected? What authority have they been given? We call that the empower. So we say inform, excite, empower. Those 3 things. Let's get to the 4th. Moving in 3, 2, and 1. Changing the slide. So we say then we're going to want to involve. We want to involve participants. Inform, excite, empower, involve by asking them what are the topics they want to cover. What are the key things they want to get out of this? So we call it IEEI. Inform, excite, empower, involve. Let's play a little English here. The first thing we do when we start a session, the I stands for team 1. What'd you say, inform? And when we inform, we tell them about 2 things. Team 2, what are they? The 2 P's? Purpose and product. Nice. Then we do the E word. We call it what, team 3? Empower. Empower. There you go. Got it. And then finally we do the I word, team 4, which is 1, 2, 3. We involve. You got it. Those 4 things in the first 15 minutes, team 5. We've got to inform, excite, empower, involve in the first 15 minutes. Let me ask you a question, team 5. Which are we best at? Informing, exciting, empowering, involving. What do we do the best usually? Inform, isn't it? We're great at informing. Woo! We do that all day. We inform, we inform, we inform. Let's agree, team 5. We don't necessarily involve all the time. Sometimes we don't empower. But team 5, which are we worst at? Excite. We are not real good at exciting. So I want to focus on exciting. How do you do that and how do you do it well? And I'd like to take a few examples. Let's take a look at 2 examples in particular of exciting. Here's this first one. Good morning. It's a pleasure to be here this morning. Our objective for the next 2 days is to walk away with a plan for improving our hiring process in our company. What's exciting about this? If we're successful, we'll walk away with a new hiring process that will help our organization get the right people hired and get them hired quickly. Pretty good, yes? Give it a hand, yes? Not bad, yes. Well, that's one example. I'd like to show you the second example, and then we'll do a poll to see which one you think is better. Here's the second one. It starts the same way. Good morning. It's a pleasure to be here this morning. Our objective for the next 2 days is to walk away with a plan for improving the hiring process. What's exciting about this? Today, you may have people on your staff who don't have the skills or the attitude you need. As a result, you're having to work much harder to make up for what they aren't doing. This is your opportunity to put strategies in place to ensure that you get the people you need to get the work done. All right, here we go. If you think example 1 is better, would you stand, please? If you think number 1 is better, would you stand? Come on. We got one person. If you're sitting, would you give yourself a point? Yes, give yourselves a hand, yes. Yes, number 2 is better. But why is it better? Who can tell me? Anyone on team 1, why is number 1 better? Yes, why is it better? Yes, it answers the question, what's in it for them? Give them a hand, yes, thank you. Now, would you look at the screen, please? Did you notice the number of you and yours that are in the number 2? That is the key to excite. The key to exciting is to say the words you or your at least 4 times. Because that's making you focus on what's in it for them. So the first one doesn't do any of it. It talks about what's good for the company. Oh, that's interesting. Do you want to excite me? What's in it for me? So you have to say the words you or your at least 4 times in your excite. Because that forces you to really answer the question, what's in it for them? Nice strategy, yes? Would you give it a hand? It's a nice one. Yes. So we say you want to do 4 things when you open a session. Inform, excite, empower, involve. All 4. Let's try that again. So the first thing we do, team 2, is I, which stands for inform. Second thing we do is team 3, excite. Third thing we do, team 4, is empower. And then finally we involve. I'm going to teach you some English here. This is great. Well, let's go on. So we've talked about principles 1 and 2. Let's go to principle 3. Now we've gotten prepared. We've gotten the session started. Now we're ready to start our first agenda item. What do? We focus the group and avoid detours. So let's establish that course. And we see that there are 11 topics we cover here. Again, don't have a lot of time, so we're going to really just focus on 2 of them. Setting the course and redirecting issues. So let's focus on those 2. And so changing the slide in 3, 2, and 1. So let's talk about setting the course with checkpoints. How do you do that? We say, anytime you start a new agenda item, you want to do 3 things. 1, review, preview, big view. Now, you can tell a facilitator who's been trained by us that you've got to do these 3 things every time. Review, preview, big view. Every time. Every time you start an agenda item. Let me show you what that looks like. Let's say we have, when you set the agenda with checkpoints, you first review quickly what's been done. Then you describe briefly what you're going to do, and it's that 3rd step that's most important. Explain how the previewed item fit into the overall big picture. See, here's what good facilitators do. Okay, we've covered this. Okay, now we're going to cover this. Okay, now we're going to cover this. Okay, now we're going to... That's what good facilitators do. Here's what great facilitators do. They wrap everything up. We review, preview, big view. Next agenda item, review, preview, big view. Next agenda item, review. It fits together. Let me show you how it works. Let's say this is our agenda. Here's our agenda. Our purpose is to find the changes needed to increase the efficiency and effectiveness of the hiring process. By the way, notice the purpose is right on top before the agenda. Why? Because it starts with why. Purpose first, then the agenda. Here's what we're going to do. We'll do introductions. We'll talk about how it works today. We'll get into problems and root causes. We'll talk about potential improvements. We're going to prioritize that improvement, develop an implementation plan, review, and close. We call this simple process improvement, not a big deal. So now I'm going to take a checkpoint. Remember the 3 steps are review, preview, big view. When you review, you answer the question we've just completed. So let's just say we're about to start B. It would sound like this. We've just completed A, the introduction. Our next step is to talk about how does the hiring process work today. And this is important because by understanding how it works today, we can figure out where the problems are so that we can now walk away with a much better process. Let's say we're about to start B. I'll do it again. We've just completed how it works today. Our next stop, we just completed how it works today. Our next step is to talk about problems and root causes. Now this is important because we don't want to address the problems, we want to address the root causes to the problem so that we can have a much better hiring process. Let's just say we're about to start D. I'll say, we've just completed problems and root causes. Our next step is to talk about potential improvements. And this is essential because we have to figure out things we might do in order to make it a much better process. Now I'm about to start E. We've just identified potential improvements. Next, we need to prioritize those improvements. Why? Because we want to implement the most important things that are going to make it a much better hiring process. Do you see how each time you keep coming back to the purpose? Every time you come back to the purpose. See, when you get caught into an agenda, you can lose track of why you're doing this. When you do a checkpoint, you are constantly answering the question, why are we doing this? You do the checkpoint. I'm about to do a role play, and I'm going to do something that's really hard to do. I'm going to pretend to be 2 people. I know that's hard. So to do that, I'm going to use a chair, and I'm going to pretend that when I'm sitting, I'm a participant. When I'm standing, I'm the facilitator. When I'm sitting, I'm a participant. Now, the participant's going to get your attention. But it's important to watch what the facilitator does, because that's your role. So even though this person's going to get your attention, pay close attention to this guy. Watch what he does. Are you with me? So I'm going to pretend to be 2 separate people. Here we go. So everyone, we've just completed the introduction. Let's check that off. Our next step is to talk about how the hiring process works today. Now let me show you how we're going to do this. Excuse me, facilitator. If you're going to insist us talking about how the current process works, I don't need to be here because you're wasting all of our time. Because we're not going to do the old process anymore. So anytime we spend talking about the way it works today, it's a waste of everybody's time. So I'm leaving, and when you're ready to talk about our new process, you can call me back. Well, you know what? You may be right. Maybe we don't need to talk about how the process works today, because if we don't, it'll save us time. But let me share with you why I thought it might be a good idea. See, if we can talk about the current steps in the process and where the problems are, we can fix those problems so that the new process doesn't have them. But if you don't think we need to talk about it, let's check in with the group. No, we don't have to check in with the group. Now that you said that, go ahead. Wow. Interesting, huh? End of role play. What happened? Why did this guy get upset? And how did the facilitator solve it? Who can answer? Why did this person get upset? Team 2. Why do you think this person got upset? Yeah, he wants to go ahead. He doesn't think we should be spending time talking about the old process because we're not going to do it anymore. Great point. Team 3. What mistake did first of all, how did the facilitator recover? What did the facilitator do to solve the issue? What did the facilitator do? Yes, and she said, would you repeat that? Yes, I can't hear that translation. It's coming in. Yes, pointed to the purpose for some reason. Yes, pointed to the purpose, right? And here's why we're doing this. So he explained the purpose. And then, but he did something very important before he explained the purpose. Team 4, did you see it? What did he do? Because she's right. He explained the purpose. But before he explained the purpose, he did something that's really important, Team 4. What was it? Oh, there you go. What was the words? Yes, he said the words, you may be right. Got it? Those are important words. You may be right. Because this person was putting up a fight. No, we shouldn't be doing this. What's wrong with you? What did the facilitator do? He didn't fight. Hey, you may be right. The next thing he did is the most important piece. He gave a benefit to doing what this person said. Because if we don't need to cover this, we will save time. So we're no longer fighting. I've just joined with them. Hey, you know what? You may be right. We could save time if we don't have to do this. Then, let me just share with you why I thought it might be a good idea. Not being defensive, we're just sharing information. I thought it might be a good idea because of this. But if you don't think so, let's check in with the group. He says, oh no, we don't need to do that. That's okay, just go ahead and do it. Now, Team 1, you get the toughest question of the day. Listen closely. What was the mistake that the facilitator made right from the very beginning? The facilitator made a mistake that caused this outburst. Did you catch what the facilitator's mistake was? Help them out, Team 2. Yes, she's got it. She's got it. She said he did a review, a preview, but missed the big view. He said, listen, we've just completed the introduction. Next, we're going to talk about how it works today. Here's how we're going to do it. He did the review and the preview, didn't answer why we're doing it. What did this guy say? We shouldn't be doing this. What did the facilitator say? Here's why we're doing this. What did he say? Oh, that's okay then. So the facilitator then responded with the big view, and he was okay. Team 3, the facilitator caused the outburst by not giving the big view. When he got upset, he gave the big view. Everything was okay. Except everybody else in the room is looking at this guy. Ooh, stay away from him. He's not a good guy. Oh, wow. That's what happens, Team 3. When we don't do our job, they look bad. I didn't do a checkpoint. This guy looks bad. Because I didn't do my job, my participant looked bad. If I'd done the big view, this would never have happened. If you in a facilitated session ever have someone asking, why are we doing this? That probably means you didn't give the big view. Makes sense, yes? So we said we want to do 3 things before every agenda item. Those 3 things are review, preview, big view. In Russian, would you say those 3 words for me? What are the 3 things we should do? Nicely done. Can we do it as a full group? What are those 3 things we should? You get the idea. That's what we want to do every time. Don't miss it. You might have this happening to you. Let me put this back and we're ready to rock. So we've gone through the first 3. Let me keep my timer going. Yes, and we're ready to rock. Yes, let's go forward then. We're ready to talk about redirecting side issues. So there are times when participants are doing great. Every once in a while, they actually talk about what we're going to cover. But most of the time, they start going off on different issues, don't they? They talk about this, they talk about that. And we say you want to redirect side issues by making a clear statement, and we say it this way. You know what? That's a good point. Can we put that up on our issues list so we don't forget it and come back to the topic that we were just talking about? We call that a redirection question. We're trying to redirect what they're saying to a parking lot so it's not missed. So we say, that's a good point. Can we put it on the issues list? Well, team 4, you might ask, well, Michael, suppose it's not a good point. Suppose it's not a good point at all. Are you saying we should lie to them? Okay, fine. You can just tell them, team 4, you know what? That's a point. Can we put that on the issues list? So you're just trying to redirect it. Who uses parking lots here? Yes? Who uses parking lots? Yes, 1, 2, 3, yes. You know what? For most of us, when we use parking lots and put things up, it's not really a parking lot, is it? It's a black hole. Stuff goes in, you never see it again. Yeah, we never come back to it. We're just making it up. We say, if people realize that this is a black hole, they're going to go, you're going to say, hey, can we put that on the issue list? No, don't put it there. I'll never see it again. So we say at the end of every meeting, everything comes off this list. When we get to Principle 9, we'll talk about the questions you ask to get everything off this list. So we call that the redirection question. Wow, we've covered a lot of ground already. We are a third of the way through the principles, and so we're ready to go to Principle 4, but let's recap. Let's recap to make sure we're a third of the way through 3 of the principles, so let's talk about it. Team 1, get me started. We said that when you prepare for success, you should cover 6 things. Give me the first 3. Purpose, product, participants. He is bad. Give him a hand. Thank you. All right. Can you tell me the next 3, Team 2? What are the next 3? We have purpose, product, participants. Then what are they? Process, problems or probable issues, and place. Give them a hand. Nice, nice. We said when you get started, Team 3, you should do 4 things. What are they? Inform, excite, empower, evolve. There we go. Give them a hand. Nice. We said, you know what, Team 4? We said that it's really important when you start a new agenda item, you should do 3 things. What are they, Team 4? Review, preview, give them a hand. Nice, nice. Team 5, we said when a participant says something that is completely off topic, you should redirect it by saying, that's a good, can we put it on the? Oh, give me the words. Can I put it on the? There you go. You get the picture. So those are our first 3. We're ready to kick in with the next 3. Let's go to it. Whoa, there we go. Principle 4, dancing. We say, this is our poll, please. When recording information on a flip chart, you should avoid paraphrasing, even if you ask people's permission to do so. If you believe that is true, would you stand, please? We've got 1, brave soul. When recording information on a flip chart, you should avoid paraphrasing. We've got 2, we got 3, we got 4, we got 5. Keep standing, please, keep standing. Look at that. If you are standing, give yourself a point. Yes, give them a hand. You know why? Because that is true. You want to avoid paraphrasing. And so why? Because when you write what you say, in essence, you are coming back. If you write what you say, you are disempowering the group and reducing ownership. So let's take a look at that. How do you do it? Going in 3, 2, and 1. Let's talk about it. Principle 4, we say use it, don't abuse it. And we talk about 11 techniques under the pen. And so we really want to just focus on 2 of those. Writing first, discussing second. Writing what is said, not what you've heard. Write first, discuss second. Writing what is said, not what you've heard. And so we say you're going to want to record what people say without regard to value or completeness. Team 1, answer me this. If what is said is incomplete, guess what you should do? Write it down. What's the Russian for that? What should you do? Yes, and so Team 1, would you play along with me? In Russian, what should you do? There you go. So let me ask you, Team One. If what is said can be improved upon, what should you do? There you go. If what is said is not what you're looking for, what should you do? There you go. If what is said is wrong, it's wrong, what should you do? There you go. You should still write it. Why? Why should you write it? Because by recording what you said, you're saying thank you for making a contribution. When you write what someone says, you're saying thank you. They contribute, you say thank you. They contribute, you say thank you. If you stop saying thank you, they may stop contributing. That's not good. But if what they contribute is incomplete, it can be improved upon. If it's not what you're looking for, if it's wrong, you ask questions to get them to fix it. You ask questions to get them to fix it. You don't fix it. So you would say, let's say it's incomplete. So you're saying we should do what? Are there words we can add to this that makes it clear? Because we don't want to forget it. Or if it's not what we can be improved upon, we can add to it. If it's not what we're looking for, let me ask you, does this apply to this or should it apply to something else? Okay, well, let's go ahead and, if what's wrong, you know what, does that actually happen? How do we know that happens? What do we observe? Oh, it doesn't really happen that way. Is it okay then if we cross this off? They fix it, not us. We ask questions. Now, here's a hint, Team 2. If you find yourself making a statement instead of asking a question, you have moved out of the facilitator role. You have now become a participant. Interesting. If you find yourself making statements instead of asking questions, you have moved out of the facilitator role and have become a participant. That's not your role. Yes? Very fair. Oh, that elicited a question. Yes, go for it.
I'm sorry, I really can't hear the question without the microphone. They should be given the mics.
There you go. Can I stop you for a second? Our translator said he can't hear the question without the mic. And so can you put a mic up front and we'll go ahead and hand it to you? He's going to translate it for me. Thank you. Here we go. Yes, thank you very much. Yes.
A year ago, we had Jenraf, the author of the dynamic facilitator method. And when he was fixing something, he was rephrasing the words. And he was given the recommendation that we should try not simply write stuff down automatically, but feel what the person says and reflect his feelings, his nonverbal message to a deeper level of work. And when we asked the question, how can we change, in this case, the meaning of what the person said, well, he said, you can clarify it later. So you can ask, did I write down correctly what you said? So here's my question. Can you from time to time rephrase the text, fixing it according to the meaning of the person? Or it's kind of the dynamic facilitation thing?
Oh, I love the question. Oh, she's going to do it for me. Thank you. I love the question. And I don't like to say any method is wrong. I really don't want to say that because it's not really polite and it may be the right thing to do. So here's what I say. He may be right. Our experience has been that when you change people's words, you are subtly implying the way they said it wasn't good enough. And you'll know you have done badly at that because people will start saying, well, I don't really know how to say it because you have taught them they don't know how to speak. And so by changing their words, we are subtly disempowering them. That's our belief. And so we train people to say, you want to use their words. And if their words aren't good enough, you ask questions so they change their words. But it's their words. Fair question. Someone might say, they may give you this long address, and what you want to do is just change the words to make it smaller. But what you're saying is they don't know how to speak. So here's the way we deal with that. We say, you know what, let me ask you this. Victor, if that was the article in a newspaper, what would the headline of the article say? Would you headline that for me? That's getting them to change their own words, not us. So we use the headline technique. We say, if that was an article, and what you said is really important. If that was an article in a newspaper, what would the headline say? Would you headline that for me? And they love it. They love creating headlines for their own words, but they did it, not us. So we really want to empower them to create their solutions. Otherwise, we're saying, you know what, I know better than you. Yeah, I'm the expert here. Let me just tell you what you really meant. I know you didn't say that, but that's what you really meant, isn't it? And because you're in an authority role, they will likely agree with you. Yeah, that's what I meant. And they may be thinking, this guy's a real pig. He's changing my words. But they just don't tell you that. So it's nice. All right, let's roll on, shall we? Yes, let's roll on. So we say it's important to use their words, not yours. You want to still record it. So you're going to write what they said. Now, you don't have to write all the words somebody says. Sometimes that reduces clarity. So let's say we're talking about the hiring process, and somebody says this. One of the steps in the hiring process is we place an ad in the newspaper. 16 words. What do I write? Place ad in newspaper. 4 words. But those 4 words are what they said. One of the things we do is we place an ad in the newspaper. Great. Place ad in newspaper. I don't have to write all their words, but every word I write is a word they said. So we say, hey, we want to record only as many words as necessary. You don't have to say all the words. Remember the headline technique that we just talked about, and we're ready to rock. That's all we're going to say under Principle 4. So let's go on to Principle 5, changing the slide in 3, 2, and 1. Here we go, moving on. Oh, almost another 3, 2, and 1. Okay, we're kicking. So let's go to it then. So we've covered Principles 1, 2, 3, and 4. Now we're going to get to my favorite. Ew. You'll know it's my favorite because I have so much energy around this. This is all about gathering information, the secret of the starting question. Listen to this question. When formulating questions to get lots of ideas, the most important attribute of the question is that it is open-ended. If you say that's true, would you stand, please? Wow, look at this. We almost have over half the room standing. You have to keep, okay. Guess what? If you are sitting, would you give yourself a point, please? Oh, why? It's false. I'll have to admit, that absolutely looks true. I would think it's true. I really would. But it's false. And I'm going to prove it to you. And you will say, after the next 5 minutes, Michael, you're right. It is false. Let me show you. Rather than go to the answer, let's go to why. Let's go to why. I'm going to share with you the secret of the starting question. Who's familiar with TED Talks here? TED Talks? Yes. They're great, aren't they? If you go to the TEDx site and write in starting question, you'll see me giving a presentation on what we're about to talk about at the International Association of Facilitators Conference. I think this is so important. I've done a TEDx talk on this one concept because if we can ask better questions, we'll get better answers every time. So let's go through it here. We're going to focus on just one technique here, and it's asking great starting questions. So let's figure out how to do just that. So let's assume you are interviewing a group of school registrars. These are the people who do scheduling for the schools in Moscow. You happen to be a good friend of the head of the schools, and so you've got 14 registrars who do scheduling for the school systems all in the room. And because they want to select software to help them do it better, because they're doing it all on pen and paper. You happen to be really smart with systems, and you know if you want people to select software, you really only have to ask them 4 questions. What are their inputs? How do they process them? What are their outputs? What are their business rules? If you know those 4 things, you can help anybody select software for their business. So you got the 14 registrars for the schools in the room. It's Saturday morning, and you've gone through IEEI, you've done Inform, Excite, Empower, Involve, and you're ready to ask your first big agenda item question. So I want you to tell me which of these two is the better question. Listen to the first question. The first thing we want to talk about are inputs. What are the inputs to the scheduling process? Let's look at the second question. If you were about to develop the school schedule, what is the information you would need to have close by? See the two questions? Which is the better question? If you say B, would you stand up, please? If you believe the type B question is better, would you stand? Yes. Almost there. Type B is better. If you are standing, give yourself a point. Yes. Type B is by far the better question. But did you notice something? Now, I'll tell you, we'll talk about why in a second. But take a look at the two questions. They're both open-ended. They're both open-ended. But over half of you agreed the second question is better. So it can't be because they're open-ended. It must be because of something else. And it's because of something else. So let's talk about what the something else is. Let's talk about it. Now, there are good things about question A. Team 1, you were pretty clear on Team 1. What's good about question type A? And if we could use the mic for that, that'd be great. Team 1, what's good about question type A? If you would like, yes? Please.
Как вы работаете прямо сейчас?
How do you work right now?
Yes, it's asking how do you work right now. The words, how do you work right now, are in there. And what's the key word that gets it right now? What's the key word? Yeah, inputs. It helps. We also say the question's direct, isn't it? It's a direct question. Well, Team 2, what's good about question type B? What's good about question type B? If we could grab that mic, we'll just go ahead. What's good? Oh, yes, thank you. What's good about question type B, Team 2? Okay, yes. Way back in the back there. What's good about question type B?
Он проще гораздо.
It's much easier, it's much simpler.
What words make it much easier? What words?
It's an appeal for action. What would you do if you had everything at hand?
He said,
Прямо сейчас.
the if
Right now. Right now.
really gives it a situation of right now. Another comment, please. We got behind you.
Да. В первом
In the first question, we have complicated words like process, planning, which are sophisticated. So it's like a bazaar talk, like a market talk.
Inputs and process. What else is good about question type B? What's in, and what words say what's in it?
обращение к
Appeal to a person, to a certain person. Saying you.
We're appealing to the person.
You.
So we said we like the if, we like the you, we like words that are simpler than input. Anything else that's good about the B question? Got a comment here. What else is good about the question? Comment here. What else is good about the, yes, it's coming, it's coming.
Person who is answering can imagine it visually.
Oh, the person who's answering can imagine it visually. Say that again.
Человек, который отвечает, может
The person who is answering can imagine it visually and the situation.
Which words do that? Which words do that? If you were. If you were drives that home. So I want to be clear, and I want to do this in such a way you'll never forget it. Would you do this for me? Would you close your eyes? I promise I'll stay up here. But would you close your eyes? Listen to the type A question. The first thing we want to talk about are inputs. What are the inputs to the scheduling process? Now, would you open your eyes, please? For those who saw an image in their head while I was reading that question, would you hold your hand up if you saw an image? Anybody? Wow, look at this. 2 people saw an image. With 3. Would you tell me what the image was that you saw? What did you see? Yes, you saw somebody writing, yes? Yes. Okay, nobody else saw that, sir. Yes, it's very creative. Yes. Sometimes when I have computer people in the room, they say they saw a circle with an arrow going in and an arrow going out. But you know when we ask registrars what they see? They saw exactly what you saw. Nothing. So let's do it again with the question type B. Would you close your eyes again? Listen to the question type B. If you were about to develop the school schedule, what's the information you need to have close by? Now, would you open your eyes? Would you raise your hand if you saw an image? Look at the number of hands of people who saw an image. What did you see? Yes, can you repeat that for him? Oh, yeah, we'll go to it. Yes, where'd that microphone go? Yes. Yes, please, yes.
I saw a schedule, a timetable, and I imagined what I actually need to write it, what input data I need.
Schedule timetable. Who else saw something else? Anybody say something else? Yes. And where did you see yourself? Oh, who saw themselves seated with a desk? Yes? Look at the hands of people who saw themselves seated at a desk. Now, here's the question, and this is what's important. What was on the desk? All the things you use for scheduling. And as my friend here said, that's the key to the starting question. It creates an image of the answers. Where are the answers? They're on the desk. A great type B question draws an image so people can see their answers. Why is that so important? That is critical. When you ask a question and people can see their answers, you know what they do? They do this. Because they want to answer your question. Why? Because they can see their answers. If every question you ask creates an image of the answers, you will get this. Now, I would like to define the two questions. Now, these aren't just two questions, they're two different types of questions. They are different by type. The first question is a type A, the second question is a type B. Let me define those two questions. A type B question draws an image of the answers. That's what it does. That's the function of a type B question. A type A question is different. A type A question asks team 2 what you want to know. You want to know what the inputs to the process, you ask, what are the inputs? If I want to know the objectives you have for this session, what do I ask? What are the objectives? If I want to know the steps in how we register people for this conference, I ask, what are the steps for registering people for the conference? A type A question is what you, the facilitator, wants to know. A type B question draws an image of the answers. And so when you ask a type B question, you get this. You say, if you were about to develop the school schedule, what is the information you need to have close by? People go, oh, I need to have this, I need to have this, I need to have this, because they're seeing the answers on their desk. When you ask a type A question, first thing we want to talk about are inputs. What are the inputs to the scheduling process? People do this. Let me think. You know what they're doing? They're trying to build the image that you didn't build for them. Got it? And when they do that, when people are thinking, you know what that means? Silence. They don't say anything. So you have asked a question, and your question has driven them silent because they are trying to draw the image that you didn't draw for them. Facilitation means to make easy. Our job is to make it easy for people to answer. And when we don't make it easy, people feel stupid. Oh my God, I should know the answer to this. How come I can't? Remember, when we don't do our job, they look bad. They feel like they don't know the answers. And you know they know that. Come on, guys, you know the answers. Tell me the answer. But we didn't facilitate it. We asked a type A question instead of a type B. Facilitation means to make easy. Our job is to make it easy for them to answer. So, would you like to learn the 3 steps that whenever you want to, you can ask a type B question? Yes, let's go to those 3 steps. Here we go. Our 3 steps for asking a type B question. Number 1, start with an image building phrase. The first words out of your mouth should be something like, think about, imagine, if, consider the last time. These are all image building phrases. You start with an image building phrase. Think about, imagine, consider, if. Team 5, if you want to ask a question and you start with what? Here comes the type A. Why? Type A. When? Why? Where? How? All type A's. You want to start your question with an image building phrase. Hey, think about the last time. Imagine you were, if you were about to, consider, are you with me? Start with an image building phrase. Step 2, expand the image to the answers. That usually takes 2 or 3 phrases where you extend the image to the answers. And then step 3, then and only then do you ask the direct question. Those are the 3 steps to asking a great starting question. Begin with an image building phrase, think about, imagine, consider, if. Extend the image to the answers, and then ask the type A question. Let's go through an example together of doing this. This is really simple. It's only 3 steps, but it's hard. It's hard to do. It's really simple. It's just 3 steps, but it's hard to do until you get used to it. Here we go. Let's go through it. So let's say we want to know the steps in the current hiring process, right? Here's how we do it. First, begin with an image building phrase. Think about the last time you hired someone. Got it? What's everyone thinking about? That last person they hired. Step 2, extend the image to the answers. So think about all the things you had to do to get the person hired. All the steps you had to go through. All the people you had to talk with. What are they imagining? All the steps. They're ready to answer your question because they have their answers. Then and only then you ask the question. Ask the type A. What are the steps in the current hiring process? Just that simple, isn't it? Right? Start with an image building phrase. Think about the last time you hired someone. Extend the image to the answers, at least 2 phrases. Think about all the things you had to do to get the person hired. All the steps you had to go through, all the people you had to talk with. And here's the key. They already know the answer to your question before you ask the question. You created an image, they can see their answer. They're just waiting for you to ask the question. Come on, ask it. I'm ready to answer. I'm ready to answer. Come on, give me the question. Give me the question. Because they're ready to go. So all you then have to do is ask the question. Up goes the hands because they have seen their answers. You've asked a great type B question. Let's create one together, shall we? One of the keys, by the way, is to deal with synonyms. Think about synonyms for, we said steps in the hiring process, activities, things you do, and you use those in your step 2. So let's just take an example. Suppose, well, before we get to when to use, let's go back and go through an example. Let's say I want to know all the things you do to get prepared to go to work in the morning. That's my type A question. So here's how you do it. First, you start with figuring out your type A. What's my type A question? What do you do to get prepared to go to work in the morning? So figure out your type A first. Then figure out your synonyms. What are synonyms for things you do? Activities? Tasks? Got me? Yeah. Then you start with your image building phrase. Got it? So first figure out your type A. What are the things you do to prepare to go to work? 2, figure out your synonyms. Activities, tasks, routine. Then figure out your image building phrase. Here's mine. Imagine the alarm clock has just gone off. What's everybody seeing? It's dark. I'm lying in bed. I'm about to hit the snooze button. Yes. Everybody can see it. You start with the image building phrase. Then extend the image. Think about the activities you've got to do to get out of the door. Think about all the tasks and things you've got to do before you're ready to leave for work. Then you ask your type A, what are the things you do to prepare to leave to go to work? Good stuff, yes? Very powerful technique. Give it a hand, yes, 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 yes. We are at that halfway point. All we wanted to cover, we still, I believe, Sergey, we still got 20 minutes, and so I can go forward. I want to make sure. I'm looking for a head nod. Yes, yes, let's go forward. Let's go forward then. So before we do, let's do a quick stretch. Can you stand, please? You've been sitting for a while. Go ahead and stand. And on the count of 3, we go, oh, I'm ready. 1, 2, 3. Oh, one more time because it felt so good. 1, 2, 3. Oh, there we go. And we can sit and we can get rocking. So we've covered the first 5. Let's recap what we've covered. When do you use a type B? At the beginning of every, and it takes preparation, so do prepare. So let's go to the first 5. This time we'll start in the middle. We said principle 1, preparing for success. We said there are 6 P's. Team 3, can you give me 3 of those 6 P's? Purpose, product, participants. Got the first 3. Team 4, can you give me the other 3? We've got Team 4, can you give me the other 3? Yes. We got purpose, we got product, we got participant. Yes, and? Yes, and? Oh, not informed, involved. The other 3 P's? Problems, or probable issues, process, and place. Team 5, keep me coming. We said when you get a session started, you do 4 things. What are those 4 things that you do to get the session started? Yes. 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 Help her out, team.
Inspire, empower.
Yes, that's correct. We want to inform, excite, empower, involve. And the most important of those is? Yes, we've got to excite, we've got to do it well. And how do we excite? We say the words, or at least, you got it. There you go. Then we talked about team 1, we talked about principle 3, how to focus the group. We said every time you should do a checkpoint. Team 1, what are the 3 parts of a checkpoint? They are. Who's got it? Hey, he's got it. Yeah, those 3 things. We want to review, preview, big view. Excellent. And then when they start going off course, we want to use a question. What's the question? That's a, yes, can we put it on the issues list? There we go. Got it going on. Then we talked about principle 4, didn't we? We said write first, discuss second. If what they said is wrong, what should we do? If it wasn't what we're looking for, what should we do? If it can be improved upon, what should we do? We write it. Then we ask questions to get them to fix it. And we said, team 4, if they say something that's really long, we couldn't possibly write it all. What do we ask them to do? Yes, give us the headline. That's exactly what we want to do. Give us the headline. And then we got to the most important principle, team 5. We've talked about the starting question. What are the 3 parts to a great starting question? We start first with a image building phrase. Second thing we do is extend the image. Third thing we do is ask the type A, the direct question. Well done. Was that a good first half? Give it a hand. Yes, thank you. We are ready to go to principle 6, and I get to share, you heard the story about dysfunction. So let's talk about it. And we'll start with our first poll, but let's see here. Let's see where we are. If you, remember I asked you to give yourself a point each time you did the poll correctly. Let's see who's got points. If you have 3 or more points already, would you stand, please? If you have 3 or more points. Look at that. We've got 4 people with 3 or more. Oh, keep standing, keep standing. I want to see where we are. First of all, let's give them a hand. 4 people with 3 or more points. All right. And so how many points? 6. He's got 6. 6. No. 4, and we had 1 more person. 6. We have 3 people with 6, 1 with 4. There'll be more polls, starting with this one. Let's see if we can catch up. 6 points. That's impressive. All right. So here's the next question. True or false? It's best if no dysfunctions occur in a meeting. If you think that's true, would you stand, please? It's best if no dysfunctions occur in a meeting. Who's standing? Got no one. No takers. Oh, we will do just that. We'll do just that. The answer is, it's true. We say the best dysfunctions are those that don't occur. That's why we try to prevent them. So we like no dysfunctions. No points given, but let's take a look. So the best dysfunctions are those that don't occur. So we want to prevent as many as possible. So let's go through it. I was sharing the dysfunctional CEO story, and it was very, very interesting. Here's the backstory. The CEO in this case had been the CEO for only 6 months. See, it was an oil and gas company in Houston, Texas. The company was growing like this. The parent company felt like it should be growing like this. So they brought in a new CEO from one of the very big oil companies to run this company. The question you should have in your mind, Team 4, is what happened to the old CEO? Remember, we had the new CEO? The old CEO had become the chief operating officer. Oh, got it? It was the old CEO who got blasted by the CEO. Interesting. So why did it happen? Well, the COO was talking about things that were going to keep the company growing slowly. This new CEO was upset because he felt like we should be talking about whole different things. As it turns out, the CEO was correct. It's just that it came out in a very dysfunctional form. Interesting. So we're going to talk about this section, and we're going to talk about, when you're in, I'm going to come back to it and ask you, what should I have done before the session started to have prevented that from happening? Then I'm going to ask you, once I saw it happening, remember I saw it happening, what I should have done, and then we'll get to the final one. What could I have done once he blew up? Because let's go through. We're going to define dysfunction, but let's just say there are many things we could talk about here, but I'm going to focus just on a couple of them, on understanding dysfunction and how to address it effectively. Those are the two we're going to talk about in our list. Changing slide in 3, 2, and 1. Okay, we're going to kick in. Here we go. So let's talk about what dysfunction is, as my friend asked. What is dysfunction? We say there are many different types of dysfunctions. Things like arriving late, leaving early. Things like having side conversations. Things like doing other work in the session. Things like really giving verbal attacks on other people. All the way up to physically attacking someone. Yes. Yeah, many things happen. Yeah, in meetings. Now, here's the key. 1, there are many different types of dysfunctions. Number 2, as the dysfunction goes up, so does the severity of the disruption. See, in these early forms, you might not even notice it. Silence, lack of participation. In this middle form, it's a little irritating, where somebody says something, and from the back of the room you hear, oh, God, stop. Those kinds of things. That's irritating. All the way up to physically attacking someone, the door slammer, where they slam the door leaving. That's completely disruptive. Well, people don't walk into a room, sit down, and go at each other's throats. That's not how it works. What happens? They go up the scale, don't they? They go up the scale. Think about my CEO. What happened to him? Remember, he first started out down here, right? He reacted. Then he got up to here, right? He pushed back from the table, audible signs of displeasure, shaking his head. Then he went all the way up to here, verbally attacking someone. Now, of course, some people go from 0 to 60 very quickly, right? He went through 2 stages. Our job is to catch it early because it's easier to deal with, right? It's easier to deal with. This is a piece of cake. We can deal with these. This one a little harder. You get up to here, you're going to be there a while. It's going to take you a while to address these. So as the severity of the dysfunction goes up, so does the severity of the disruption, and so does the intensity of your intervention. So you want to intervene early. Do you remember? I missed. I detected it, did nothing about it. He did something again, I did nothing about it. We had a break, I did nothing about it. He explodes, I still did nothing about it. If I had caught it early, I could have prevented it even before it occurred. Could have prevented it, I missed it. So we want to talk about conscious prevention, early detection, clean resolution. How do we make it happen? Let's go to it. So let's get to our process and we are ready to rock. So here's our definition of dysfunctional behavior. Dysfunctional behavior is any activity by a participant which is unconsciously or consciously a substitution for expressing displeasure with the session content, the facilitation process, or some outside factor. So let's back up and unpack this definition. Dysfunctional behavior is any activity which is consciously or unconsciously. They may not even know they're doing it. They might not even know they're doing it. It may be completely unconscious. But here's the key, it's a substitution. They're unhappy with something, they're just not telling us, and it's coming in a dysfunctional way. What are they unhappy with? It could be the